The theory of editing, at least, my theory of editing. And it's important to have a theory when you're trying to do something because you want to have a target or a goal. It's important to know what you're doing. So, when you start writing something, you don't really know what you're trying to say. And this is true of everything: novels, movie script, reports, emails, blog posts, whatever it is that you're writing. You think you understand it, but as soon as the words hit the page, you realize that maybe your thinking about it isn't as clear as you would like. So the process is to write some ideas down, realize the words don't quite fit, or realize that the idea isn't quite right, and just keep iterating on it. For fiction, especially, the ideas include, all the concept stuff, all the larger choices you make in plot, scenes, character, story structure, setting, genre. And there are lots of people who talk about these things. But nobody really talks about line editing in a meaningful way or in a clear way that I've found. And I think that this editing or rewriting process is what separates okay writing from really, really good writing. And I also think that line editing can help you fix the concept things. Like if you do line editing properly, you have to deal with problems and be more specific and generate new ideas. And line editing is more important today than ever before because the longer you take to say something, the more likely someone is to get distracted. We have shorter and shorter attention spans, so what we write has to be more essential and structured correctly. So, unless you structure something very, very well, the longer something becomes, the more likely someone is to click away or swipe on to the next thing or become distracted or interrupted. And this is the most important fact you need to know about communicating in the 21st century. Yet everybody who talks about and teaches writing still says things like Get the Elements of Style by Strunk and White. And I love The Elements of Style. It's a great little book. But it was published in 1920 when these problems didn't exist. So it seems like it's time for some new thinking about how to do this well. So I think about this reality in this way, right? The clarity of your writing is inversely proportional to the number of words you use. I mean, that's not, completely correct, but the longer you go on, the more jargon you use, the longer you take to get to the point, the more likely someone is to bail out and not get your point at all. So if we look at something like this, all meals will be rethermalized by the use of a microwave oven before serving to patients, right? You can see that if you just wanted to make it shorter in any way, all meals will be reheated. You could even just go. But if you go even shorter, right, you could take this thing and you really start to get to and what that does for you is you get to that idea level quite quickly from the line edit, right? You get to deal with the concept of what's really going on. This is a business context, so you get to really get to the underlying business problem and try and solve it. So to make that complete, that my little equation, I write it this way: power is equal to meaning divided by the number of words you use. And in 20 years of writing things for money under deadline, I can't think of an exception to this rule. If you make something shorter without losing meaning, you've made it better, no question. And especially for fiction, because meaning is absolutely what we want out of a story. The stories you love the most are the ones that have meant the most for you, the ones that have created as much meaning. So a good way to conceptualize this is anything that doesn't add to that meaning in the story is noise. So you want to just try and cut all the signal out of the noise. You want to try and create pure signal. And that's not possible, but it's definitely the goal. So let's look at this. Morally flexible, conscience optional, compliance professional with strong intimidation and combat skills. Expert pilot, experienced in timely and efficient right-sizing initiatives and getting large construction projects back on track. Who am I talking about here? But if we use more specific words and try and use fewer of them, now it's easy to see who this is about. Sith Lord who helps authoritarian regimes keep rebellious star systems within their iron grasp by applying terror, intimidation, project management, military action, and the full power of the dark side of the Force. I mean, this is clearly an excerpt from Darth Vader's resume. I should also point out about editing that there is a point of diminishing returns, just like with everything else, right? You can spend too much time editing and drive yourself crazy and not make your thing that much better beyond a certain point. So I try and stop at a point where it doesn't make all that much of a difference to a reader anymore. So for me, that looks like no errors that take the reader out of the story and maximum clarity. For example, a reader should probably never be in a position where they have to wonder who is speaking and then skip back in the text to figure that out, or be confused about what a main character wants at any point in the story, that kind of thing. At the line level, I'm only really ever doing 3 things: trying to find more specific words, trying to use smaller words, and finding ways to use fewer words. Now, sometimes you have to add more words, maybe another scene, to flesh out a concept. But almost always you come out of a good rewrite of anything with fewer words than you started with. And this is a bit bizarre because, in school we were taught to write a certain number of page essay, like the 10-page essay is this sort of accomplishment. And it's not the way it works in the real world, because if you can convey all the information in a 5-page essay or a 3-page essay that you would get in and someone else would get into a 10-page essay, you're a much better writer. So all of this stuff that I've mentioned is kind of like saying buy low, sell high is the way to make money in the market. It's absolutely true, but it doesn't really give you anything you can use. So I still have to show you, or someone has to show you how. And that's where the magic is, and that's what I'm trying to do with this series of videos. Rewriting is a fluid process, and you can't show it very well on the static page. So I'm posting snippets of me doing it so that people can see it in the moment and hopefully find something that will help them be better at rewriting. And if that's the kind of thing that you think would be useful to you in writing fiction or writing for work or writing for anything, just be sure and subscribe. These videos are going to be short and sweet, and you'll pick a lot of stuff up.